So lately, I've heard a lot of rumors about a mono male team. Now, this mainly comes from sources like Full Stop claiming that Aventurine, Ashveil, and Blade could all end up on the same team. However, this claim has been contested by our old friend, which then leaves us in a pretty weird spot. Will there or will there not be a mono male team? Well, I think there will, and it's all thanks to Welt. Yes, our favorite grandpa might be the key to understanding why this team exists and how it could actually work. Now, this is just my prediction and I'll be going through my evidence and logic behind it. So, without a further ado, let's get right into it. To start, let's lay out what we currently know about the mono male team. It all starts with Aventurine SP, who is rumored to release in 4.5. He seems to be an Elation DPS, but what makes him unique is that he focuses on follow-up attacks. And this lines up with the information we got from Mortis leaks during Ashveil's beta a couple months back, where Ashveil may have to wait quite some time for his main DPS to appear. So with the introduction of a new follow-up DPS, Ashveil will finally be the tier 0 sub DPS he was meant to be. Now, the second key information is that Aventurine SP cannot properly team with other Elation units. His kit only works when he's played in a mono Elation setup, meaning he'll want supports that are not Elation. And this one detail ends up explaining a lot more than you'd expect, because this is where Grandpa Welt comes in. Welt has received some crazy buffs with his 4.2 Novaflare, where his multipliers were omega buffed, they gave him defense shred, and also buffed his Eidolons. However, in version 3, he got this very peculiar change. His Trace 1, rather than give 35% vulnerability, was instead changed to this. When allies attack targets affected by Welt's ult, they get 6% damage bonus, stacking up to 90% at 15 stacks. Now, this change made absolutely no sense at all. Why the heck is a Nihility unit now giving conditional damage bonus? Now, at a glance, it looks to be an Aggron buff, the logic being that Aggron generally lacks damage bonus and is oversaturated in vulnerability. However, in my previous video, I proved that even at max amp, it's actually an overall nerf in majority of teams. Now initially I brushed it off. Well, it's currently a bit too strong, so a slight nerf to his amp and universalness made quite a bit of sense. However, I then read this comment. I have a feeling that the Welt changes are less for Aggron and more to make him an option for the mono male team.
Oh my god, I can't believe my eyes.
This is because Welt's new Trace 1 has some interesting properties. First, it's 1 stack per hit, regardless if it's AoE or single target, so units who attack more will max this out faster. Second, the damage bonus is tracked individually, meaning each unit has to stack it themselves, rewarding teams with multiple DPSs. And lastly, the talent is triggered by normal attacks, skills, ults, but most importantly, Elation skills and also follow attacks. Yeah, you can probably see where this is going. And it gets even better. This was buffed again in version 5. Now it takes fewer hits to max out, going from 15 to 10. And the cap was also increased from 90 to 100% damage bonus. Now, you might be thinking, okay, it's just one part of his kit that's synergistic with follow-up attacks. This doesn't necessarily mean he'll be good there. However, that's not all the changes. His post Novaflare ult was also adjusted. Instead of a flat 40% delay, it now applies a 12% initial delay and subsequent hits will further delay the enemies by 4%. In other words, it directly rewards multiple hits, aka follow-up attacks. Yeah, I think we've cracked the code. Now, at this point, you also may be thinking, get a load of this guy. Does he know that damage bonus doesn't even work on Elation damage, so everything he just said was completely useless? Well, seeing how I brought it up in the video, I of course know. However, we're gonna cover that later, I promise. Because what I'm more interested in right now is, why did Welt even get a Novaflare in the first place? Well, after our third batch of Novaflares, it's pretty clear that they don't just hand these out randomly. Sure, it would be nice if they gave them to units struggling in the meta, but that's not what they've been doing. Instead, almost every Novaflare has been used to push a specific unit, archetype, or is a stellar hunter. Just look at the pattern. Jingliu and Blade became pure HP scalers when the HP meta popped up. Kafka and Black Swan pushed high ceilings and the respective dot banners during 3.5 and 4.0. Sparkle and Ho-Ho were updated right alongside their respective DPSs, that being Sparksy and Evanesia. And of course, we also got Silverwolf and Firefly, both which are Stellaron hunters. So that then leads us to 4.2's Novaflare. For Sela, I'm gonna be honest, I got no idea. Maybe she's secretly a Stellaron hunter. But for Welt, if we follow the pattern, he's clearly being set up for a future team. As for the options, we currently have A, an Aggron bot whose DPS is currently residing in tier 1.5, or B, supporting our new follow-up team which currently consists of potential tier 0 cell DPS Ashveil and Mr. Mono Elation Aventurine. Now, when we factor in the recent changes that clearly favor follow-up attacks, if I had to take a gander, it's probably the follow-up one. But moving on, the next thing to tackle is what role he's meant to fill. As mentioned before, Aventurine's team has been speculated to include Ashveil and Blade SP. So let's approach this fact logically. If Ashveil's meant to be on the team, then all we need to figure out is this. How similar is Welt to Ashveil? Because if Welt's close enough, then by that logic, he could fill the same role. Now, we don't fully know what Nihility Blade does yet, so we'll just set him aside for now. Comparing Welt to Ashveil, both are sub DPSs and deal good damage. Now, you may think that Ashveil would do much more damage due to his follow-up attack nature, but that's actually not the case. As you can see in terms of raw motion value, post Novaflare Welt actually matches Ashveil, a standard banner unit matching a top tier sub DPS. On top of that, both provide 40% defense shred alongside additional buffs, making them strong team-wide amplifiers. As you can see, they're super similar. However, they of course have their differences, the biggest being the buffs that they provide. Ashveil provides up to 120 crit damage, while Welt gives up to 100 damage bonus. Amp-wise, the damage bonus is slightly better. But now we run into our earlier problem. Damage bonus. Because it's damage bonus, this shouldn't even work with Elation units, which means if we take this at face value, a huge part of Welt's kit just became useless in this team. So we're now stuck in this predicament. On one hand, everything about his kit points towards this follow-up mono Elation team. But on the other hand, half his buffs don't even function within it. So it's finally time to answer that question. How can damage bonus possibly work in a supposed Elation team? Well, the answer is actually simpler than it looks. It's because follow-up attacks are not Elation attacks, and it's all thanks to Evanesia that we can figure this out. Evanesia's Master Fox is a follow-up attack, but also has Elation scaling, meaning if Aventurine launches a follow-up attack, they have to be split scaling with 2 multipliers because there's no such thing as an Elation follow-up attack, just a follow-up attack with Elation multipliers added onto it. And that changes everything, because if Aventurine is built as a follow-up DPS, then by design, he has to be a split scaler. Part of his damage will benefit from standard scaling and damage bonus, while another part scales through Elation specific buffs. And that's exactly why damage bonus still matters. And this isn't just a theory, we've seen this exact same thing happen before. With version 1 Evanesia, her normal multipliers weren't as high as her Elation scaling, but they still contributed enough damage to make both Sunday and Sparkle some of her top support options. And this was just with an 80-20 split, by the way. So if Aventurine is meant to be a solo Elation unit built around follow-up attacks, I'd argue that his kit likely leans heavily into his normal scaling. Basically, our current Elation teams are like casters and the HP scalers. They want HP, aka the new scaling mechanic. But then there's also Aglaya, which focuses on attack and speed, making her functional with older supports. I'd assume this new Aventurine will be like the Aglaya for this archetype. Now, split scaling usually leads to some issues. So the ideal solution to this would be some form of conversion mechanic. We've already seen attack to Elation, so I see no reason why we can't do damage percent to Elation damage. So with all that in mind, In my opinion, I believe that Grandpa Welt will be here to stay. Moving on, and to finish off the video, I want to look at synergy. A while back, we got some information from Mortis League stating that Ashveil is not designed for old follow-up DPSs, but can be used alongside them. From what we've learned in this video, we could assume that what they meant is that the new follow-up team now has Elation in it. However, I have a different interpretation. I think it's gonna refer to how next-gen follow-up teams will have everyone dealing meaningful amounts of damage like Mono Remembrance. Because if you look closely, every previous follow-up team has still been a form of hyper carry. Whether it was Topaz the Ratio or Mota to Fei Xiao, it's all been a sub DPS to main DPS format. But with Ashveil, it's clear that these new gen supports are supposed to hit like absolute trucks. As such, in terms of design, I bet Aventurine may be an Evernight or Ashveil type of character who's gonna enable their team as well as themselves. And when you look at it that way, it actually fits. If Aventurine does attack frequently and also amp the team, then this will greatly benefit both Welt and Ashveil. So this stops being a Casris to Evernight situation and instead becomes 3 Evernights in one team, all amping each other. And this also solves one of Follow-Up's biggest design problems. Follow-Up has always been about everyone contributing to the team's damage. But how can the team do that when the sub DPSs have way too tiny multipliers and the main DPS also provides 0 support? As you can see, it completely contradicts the idea. As such, I believe that new age follow-up units are just gonna be Evernights and Ashveils, where everyone's gonna have stupid multipliers and buffs for the whole team. And well, for Welt, he may not have follow-up attacks, but he certainly has the raw multipliers and buffs to fit in. And yeah, that's my theory video. I'm curious to hear what y'all think, because I think I cooked with this one and covered every single basis I could think of. But besides that guys, a like or sub would be super nice. I think if it goes well, we'll probably hit 10k subscribers with this video, but we'll just have to see. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as usual, see you guys next time. Peace.